What's up, guys? Today we're going to go through how to flash Ubuntu onto a flash drive and also install it to a computer. So, the first step to flashing Ubuntu is downloading the correct ISO file from the Ubuntu website. So, the way I got to this page was typing in Ubuntu 18.04, which is the current version that we're using on the robot, into Google, and it's actually the first search result under releases. It's usually on the Ubuntu website, ubuntu.com. You go click on that and you download the ISO. So I clicked on this link. I already have it downloaded. It's about 2 gigs. And once you have that, you're going to need to flash it onto a flash drive. And to do this, there's a ton of tools to do this. There's the one I use personally is Balena Etcher, but there is one called Rufus. There's you can do it from another Linux distro, but in this case I'm going to show you how to do it with Etcher. So I download the correct version for my computer, and here's the tool. I'm going to go select the image that I downloaded, hit open, and then I'm going to go plug in a drive. So once I have the drive plugged in, it'll pop up on this menu. Click on that drive, hit continue, and then I'll hit flash. This should take around about 5 to 10 minutes. And what it will do is it will format your drive. So be very careful about what information you have on there. Make sure it's a drive that you don't need for something else. But yes, it will format your drive, and the drive that you're going to want, probably going to want something more than 8 gigs, or just around 8 gigs. You can go smaller, but we've had the most success with 8 gigs and above. And once you have it flashed, you're going to want to plug that into your computer and go into the BIOS and make sure you're booting to that particular drive. Once you're done flashing your Ubuntu install, before you start booting into it from your BIOS, the first thing you want to do is go into disk management, and they'll pop up here with create and format hard disk partitions. That's the one that you want. That's a disk management tool. So this is what it looks like. You're gonna get, I'm on my desktop, so I have a whole lot of disks in here, but on laptops you're usually gonna have 1 or 2 disks here, with usually people have 1 partition. In our case, we're gonna create a new one. So to do that, this is a big drive. It's a 1 terabyte drive. What I want to do is I'm going to click on shrink volume. Once the query is over, it'll pop up with how much you can shrink. This is saying we can shrink about 181 gigs off of this 1 terabyte drive. In our case, we're going to want around 60 to 70 gigs to work with. That should be a very even amount for working with the vision system, if you do work on that, or to be able to download all the tools that you want within a. So we're going to just say 60 there, and then we hit shrink, and then once you've done that, it's going to shrink the partition. It'll make a new one, and it'll become unallocated space, and we're going to want to leave it like that. Once you have booted into the bootable drive, this is the screen that you're going to be shown. Actually, you're going to be shown the grub screen beforehand, and grub is a EFI tool which allows you to choose what operating system that you can boot into. In our case, it's only going to show try Ubuntu and install Ubuntu, and we want to choose install Ubuntu. So you're going to arrow key down to it, hit enter, and then you're going to be shown this screen, which is the Ubuntu installer. So if you've completed the previous steps of having the partition ready to go, you just want to click English, unless you want a different language, and then set up your keyboard, make sure the keyboard works. Continue. You're going to want to go for the normal installation. Really doesn't matter. It's just going to download extra, like LibreOffice or some other applications like that. We're going to want to download the updates, so make sure that you're connected to a network. My computer is hardwired, but um, if you are at school, you might want to connect to the wireless network up here. And then make sure you click on this. So this is important because it installs your graphics drivers with the computer. Some people have graphics cards in their laptops, like NVIDIA graphics cards. If you do not have this checked, it will not install the drivers for those graphics cards. And Ubuntu can get very buggy with the graphics drivers that come pre-installed, or that the graphics cards request. So just go ahead and click that, and it'll go download an open source version of the driver. Hit continue. It's going to load a little bit while pulling down the drivers. So I only have a couple of options here, but what you want to click on is something else right here. So what you'll see here is you're going to see your Windows partition. You're going to see the 60 gig Ubuntu partition that we created earlier. It's just going to pop up as free space. What we want to do is we're going to click on this, right? Double click. We're going to click OK, showing 100 gigs of free space right there. I'm going to hit plus. And what we're going to do is we're going to take off about 10 gigs from the value that you chose. So I'm just going to go 88,000 and make that the primary space. And I'm going to start from the beginning, ext4, and just make out point is on slash and hit OK. Then there's going to be still 10 gigs left. That 10 gigs we're going to use as swap area. So swap area is there for if your computer runs out of space. This is cache to be used between the RAM and your CPU. So I'm gonna make sure that swap area is set, and then just make sure you have the correct hard drive selected for your bootloader installation, and then just hit install now. Alright, so after a little bit of loading, it's going to ask for your time zone, as well as it's going to ask for login information. Now, this part is a little bit important. So it's going to ask for your name. You can put in your name. Here, it's going to ask for your computer's name. This is going to act as your host name. So Linux and other Unix type machines work with host names and accounts. So does Windows in some extent. So what this computer's name is the name of your machine. So in this case, I'm just going to say the desktop, right? Because this is my desktop machine. But I'm also going to have to pick a username. So when I log into this machine using SSH, from if I was using another machine, I would be logging into the account pparec at the desktop. This is important because some applications, as well as some robot operating system things, will use your host name to specify, which machine it's talking to. So this name is a little bit important. Your username, not as much. You probably want to make these short just so they're easy to type. And then your password, just make sure that you know your password. It's important because you kind of use it for root access to everything at almost every turn, at anything that you do within Unix or Linux. So I'm going to type something in here. And continue. And it's going to go ahead and install. So once you're done installing, you're going to come up with this screen. It's going to ask you to restart, and once you hit restart, it's going to ask you to pull out the installation media. So hit restart now. It's a second, and it'll ask me to pull out the flash drive. In my case, I don't have a flash drive plugged in. I actually have this running on a VM. So what I'm going to do, so if you have any issues, ask your software lead. They can probably help you set up your BIOS. There have been some issues with BIOSes not being recognized properly, or not recognizing the removable drives properly. But if you're struggling, definitely reach out to your team members. Probably help you out. Thanks for watching, guys.